You better go check it, Blake.
All right.
Go check it before you hit record. Oh. You're rolling. You hit record before you went and checked. Okay, look at him. He's good. Dad's good. We got a 70-year-old man back there running a computer, and by gosh, he does a good job too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He's coming in here. I'm talking about he comes in here motivated to get the job done, learning all new skills, taking notes. Dad, I'm proud of you, man. We got to get him a microphone over there one day. Somebody send him in a microphone.
He's worried to death to talk. He thought you was mad at him last Monday.
Lord of mercy. What's this episode titled, by the way?
The Pope is alive.
The Pope is alive. 12 puffs of purple smoke descend from the fiery gizzard. Fire and brimstone hail from the Vatican. All paths lead to heaven, says the Pope. There's only one Pope spot left. Rome never failed. Have you committed a menial or a venial or a mortal sin today? Bring the graven image and kiss its feet. We've all gathered here today to introduce the final Pope to take over the land of the Vatican. Introducing the Demon Pope. Pope Chile. The white smoke has risen. The hat has been deemed the Demon Pope.
Good night.
Black. 12 puffs of purple smoke
Out of the chimney.
Everybody's waiting on that white smoke, but the purple smoke introduces the final Pope, which is the Demon Pope.
Dang.
So, last Pope, he's here. There's only one spot left in the halls of the Vatican for a Pope. Did y'all know that?
My staff is weathered too.
He's wore that thing. He's been demon folks left and right with that thing.
Demon?
Yeah, he's been demon them.
Did y'all know the Pope said all paths lead to heaven?
Uh-uh.
Yeah. That's what he said. Did you know that, Chili? Pope Chili?
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
That's what they told him
You
to
and
say.
him were buddies anyways, right?
Who?
Look here. Why? I got a question for y'all. Why is everybody tiptoeing around this Roman Catholic stuff, man? Why is everybody tiptoeing around these people? I just sent a video to everybody. Y'all just watched it. Let me see. I want y'all to go watch this, man. Let me see where it's at on here. Now, look. There's a video here of the Roman Catholic. I guess this is at the Vatican, Chile.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
They are celebrating Easter. They bring in a graven image of looks like some little worm on a cross.
Not this big.
And usher it in. Some fat man in a garb that looks like Pope Chile lays out flat on his fat belly in the middle of the thing on a rug, puts his face in a pillow. They usher in a graven image, got some El Duibo holding it up in there, while the rest of these people come in here and bow down and kiss the feet of this graven image. What are these people doing? What are these people doing? Like, why is everybody tiptoeing around this Roman Catholic church, whatever it is? It's insanity.
I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I'm not tiptoeing. I haven't.
Bit of disrespect to you, demon.
I haven't done a bit of tiptoeing. What are you talking about? You talking about the church? The universal church.
Well, I guess it is universal. All paths lead to the
like
same
this?
place. But for real, why do y'all think pastors, why do y'all think Bible believing Christian people, why do y'all think they all tiptoe around the Roman Catholics? I mean, they are heretics. They are, there's just no getting around it. They are a bunch of heretics.
Well, I think, for one, you don't want to be offensive to people. That gets in a lot of people's heads. And number two, I think if you talk, it's not just Catholics, it's any thing that is adjacent to Christianity or people that claim to be like Mormons or whatever. You know, if you ask them, have a conversation with them, and you say, do you believe Jesus is the Son of God and died, they will say yes. I mean, like, all of that is a yes, 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 yes. All the, you know, so you go, well, according to what we believe and what we believe saves you, then okay, like, it's, I don't know your heart, that's hard to dispute. You know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, like, the automatic disqualifier of, are you a Christian, is if you said, do you believe this about Jesus? And they said, well, no, not exactly. Well, that's not what a Catholic is going to say. I mean, they're going to,
Yeah.
and a Mormon too. I mean, like, they, you know,
But
they could get into it deeper with it. But anyway, like, just on the surface level, that's going to be hitting all the criteria. So you're like, well, I can't, even though you do some funky stuff, I can't say.
Well,
that's why people don't want to.
The issue is I get what you're saying about believing Jesus was the Son of God, but you cannot dispute the Roman Catholics. Their entire structure is based off of faith plus works, and that is not it. Like, you can't have faith in Jesus plus your works and get it. Like, you ain't gonna get it, buddy. Like, but like, why? Look, man, why is nobody warning people? Don't come within a 100-mile radius of this daggone Roman Catholic crap, man. Why? I mean, look. If you're thinking about it, don't come with, look, I don't know how on earth anybody can look at what the ceremonies and crap that these people put on and you go in and you start looking at their doctrine and what they believe, and you know why they all get so defensive when you do. That's another reason people won't come out against them and say nothing about them, because they do blow up. They pretty daggone adamant that they have got it. They have got it, boy. And they go on the defense. But like, how? I know, it's mind-boggling to me. Is it just, why are so many people part of this thing? Is it because the human nature wants to be part of it's a cult, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a cult is really what it is.
Well, isn't a lot of the things based on, like, that man can do, like, you know, y'all were talking about what was it you said you could buy?
Oh yeah, the history with the indulgences and.
Yeah.
You could buy your granddaddy out of hell.
And so certain
purgatory.
things, and you go, you know, confess your sins to the priest, and I don't know a lot about it, but a lot of things seem to be centered around man and man's ability to provide a way for you. And, like, maybe they do believe Jesus died on the cross in the gospel, but they don't, if they believe it's by works, then the manner in which you get it is wrong. So that's a key point, you know.
That's a very key point.
Yeah.
It's a very key point.
So, I mean, but even the Mormon religion is the same way. Like,
Right.
you know, I've had a Mormon tell me before, have you read the Mormon book? And I was like, no. And she was like, you read the Bible and you have a lot of questions. This book answers all of those questions. And I was like, well, how convenient that a human wrote this book and answered all the questions how he thought they should be answered, And so, looking at all these other religions, they seem to bring man to the center to provide answers and ways to certain things that we can't provide ways to.
And the main thing that you hear these people talk about is when Jesus is talking to Peter, right? That's what they always go back to. They're like, he's talking to Peter. He says, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Well, there's a lot of discrepancy around their interpretation of that because there's two different words being used there for rock, little rock and big rock, from what I've studied into it, right? But, they go back to talking about, Jesus basically put Peter forth as the leader of the early church in the book of Acts. Okay. But how does that give credence to, because that's where they say the Pope comes from, everybody preceding him. Well, Jesus ordained Peter as the leader of the early church. Well, the guy that came after Peter didn't get ordained by Jesus.
Right.
The guy that came after him didn't get ordained by Jesus. Like, how does that even, if you believe that way, how does it give credence to the ultimate authority of anybody after Peter? I just don't, man. Look, that's a minor point. When you dig into the doctrines that they teach and believe and the things that they practice, like, it's so much deeper than just that, man.
Then that's probably why a lot of people don't say anything about it, is they don't even have the desire to dig into it. I couldn't tell you what none of that stuff on that video. We watched what they was doing. Like, I hadn't done.
Where do you find that in the Bible, though? Where do you find that? To bring out a graven image that's supposed to represent Christ on the cross as you all file down the line, bow to it, and kiss to his feet.
Yeah.
Where do you find the Pope in the Bible? Where do you find penance in the Bible? Where do you find venial and mortal sin in the Bible? Look, it's unbelievable, man.
Right. Yeah, it's off the chain, that's for sure.
I'm about sick of it.
You find it in catechism.
What is that? Explain that to us, Pope.
Well, the little c catechism is just essentially, this will be a bad definition, but a summation of doctrine, right? I mean, you could have one it's not just a Roman Catholic term, catechism. It's become associated with that, but that's essentially what it means. It's a summation of doctrine, whatever it may be. The Roman Catholic catechism is this big text that essentially outlines everything. Literally just go down the list of every
SOP, standard operating
yeah,
procedures.
What's the views on Mary? How do we view Jesus? The Trinity. I mean, just down the list, everything. So if you wanted to study up on it, you don't have to do random Googling. There's a thing to read. Bang. Made it easy for you. I mean, that's part of what we did, Pope.
I ain't got no desire to look into none of that mess.
You know?
At all. No. No, that stuff looks creepy to me, man.
The problem I have with saying that is the same problem I've had with anything. And whether it's Islam, Mormonism, you can just run the gamut, is not that you have to be an expert on every major religion that pops up or every minor religion that pops up, but if you don't have some understanding of what they believe, you are rendered ineffective when talking to that person.
I agree.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way around that. If you don't even have a loose understanding, then you can't even, because you can always say what you believe and what the truth is and all that, and that's really all you need to do. But in just a normal human conversation, if you don't understand where they're coming from, they can confuse, they can make out like they agree. It just doesn't work. You have to have some sort of an understanding. So that would why it would be worthwhile to at least know enough to say, well, I can point to this, this, and this that is a part of Roman Catholic doctrine, belief, dogma, and you're like, well, explain this. This is a problem. I can show you where this is wrong, Yeah. And it's good to know that with everything that you encounter, because the conversation can it can just be stifled very quickly without that, because not that they're right, but a Mormon that you're talking to about faith and you just kind of think they don't, okay, this isn't right, but they can look at what you believe much better than you can look at what that's just not good. Not that they'll confuse you, but they can, I'm not saying they'd be right, but they could point to you and go, hey, here's how you're wrong.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, no, but you can't come back to them with why they're, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I've always viewed it as worthwhile to at least, literally for that reason, understand what different belief systems are. But that's about the only reason. I mean, it's not like some people I think do it for fun, but there is a practicality to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree with you, Chill. Well, just want to introduce the new Pope, kicking the episode off, and
same as the old Pope.
any of you guys that are thinking about moving over to the Catholicism, I'm just a dumb old redneck, but you better watch it, just from what I've seen these cats doing.
100-mile radius, you're good if you stay outside of that.
Look, let me tell you, this has been my experience. I have met hundreds of people that identify as Catholics, all right? This has just been my experience. I've only ever known one that actually reads the Bible. I don't think they promote the reading of the Bible very often, which probably makes sense.
Well, I mean,
that's just my experience. I'm not saying that that's a good representation overall of the however many billion Catholic people there or people who identify as Catholics are out there. I'm just saying in my experience. Look, man, if you're doing all this wazoo crap, you better hope the people that you sucking in with all this wazoo crap ain't reading the Bible. You see what I'm saying?
oh yeah.
You better hope they don't pick that thing up and start reading it themselves.
It's just, I don't know. I will say it's difficult to come out and say anything like this or just broad strokes because like,
I was just talking about the scope of my experience.
Because like the I don't know how to articulate this properly, but the when you talk about the history of the Catholic Church, like you are talking about the history of Christianity, period. Like the history of the church, period. And it's not me giving credit or saying, well, I'm not tiptoeing around, how Catholics believe and the practices of today, like you saw in that video. I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that's correct. I'm not tiptoeing around. I'm saying like, if you have to, like, church history is just, I think that enlightens everything about how we've gotten here. Because like we're looking at it in 2025, and you got to go, well, how did it all get here? And it seems real simple when you go back to Antioch, right? I mean, this is just like we're Christians. We're followers of Christ. The man that just died for our sins a few years ago, like recently, that we witnessed some of,
Yeah, they weren't doing all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't. But then, like, born from that, you realize quickly too how there is no other way that it was going to happen.
You're just talking about the history of the true church.
Yes, but what I'm saying is like,
but you would I see how you're saying you would trace it. Really, the critical place to trace it to is the Reformation. Like, really, that's the critical point.
You skip over 1,500 years of how they got there.
Yeah. I agree. You should know. You should understand that history and how the history of the church began to divert from a true understanding or interpretation of the Word of God. But then at the Reformation, it's almost like that was the split where the true church split off from what we now know of as the Roman Catholic Church.
Not really. I mean, for about 300 years after Christ, the church was like, we talk about persecution, and we've kind of talked about how persecution today is, we use it, it's a joke to even say in America that we're persecuted. Now, there is definitely places in the world, Christians, that are persecuted today, but even horrible places in the world compared to like the systematic persecution worldwide in the first 300 years after Christ, like the Roman Empire was it, right? And it was against the law to be a Christian. It was not recognized as a religion. There was no, I've even said before in the past, and it's really a misnomer, that Constantine made Christianity or the official religion of Rome. That never happened, really. What he did was he made it legal, and he became essentially a practicing Christian himself, and for all intents and purposes. And the first 300 years after Christ, I mean, it was obviously growing and flourishing in the model that you always promote, like of house church, just like local communities. But their beliefs were forming what is now the Roman Catholic Church. Like, that doctrine was being set, and it would be some things that, I mean, there's all kinds of people always have disagreed, and there's been people who believe this and people who believe this, but that was being formed for 300 years as they were being persecuted. And then it was called the Edict of Milan that made it legal. Constantine did that. And then, really, I've mentioned the councils of like Nicaea and Carthage and Hippo, all that in the past. The Council of Nicaea is a pivotal one where the Nicene Creed came from, right? Constantine is why that happened, from my understanding of history, is he forced the issue on that. He said, hey, guys, we're talking about all kinds of different things. There was so many different splits already. Arian, like Arminius, and like all that was just
Pelagian.
Yeah, there was already splits. Like, it has nothing to do with that's the natural course of things. And then he said, we need to we got to decide on some of this. And so that's where it happened. And then we're still skipping over a lot, but then you go 1,200 years in the future, and it was just devolving practices and more splits, and then you get to where the Protestant Reformation happened. So,
well, I've at a point in my life, I kind of was sometimes confused about why there were so many local congregations in an area. Yeah. And I was like, why don't we just all gather together as the body of Christ, as one congregation? No.
You can't.
No.
I mean, never happened.
That's a terrible idea.
I mean, the first 300 years that I'm referencing after Christ, they literally had huge splits on the nature of Jesus. They couldn't agree.
Yeah, I've read about that.
I mean, they literally could not agree fully. I mean, it was, real split, big groups forming on either side of the issue that said, Jesus was not actually fully God. Yeah. Like, we believe he is the Savior, but like it's not fully God, because you can't, he was a man, and we're recognizing the humanity of Jesus first and foremost. Like, I mean, all that. And then another side said, no, you don't understand. That was God in the flesh. And I mean, that split right there was huge. And that's early. I mean, there's no way for it to be any different. It's people,
Yep. Well, things just change slowly, like it starts out as probably what's right. And then it gets to this point that, like, let's bring the cross out. And then, a couple weeks later, they're like, let's put a little thing of Jesus on there. And then this guy says, heck, I'll lay down in the floor while y'all kiss it.
Yeah.
And
we all ought to kiss it.
Yeah.
But if you want to understand, like, why has it grown so much? Why is there seemingly, from all of this disagreement, why is there now 2 billion people or a billion, whatever it is, that are like, that you can summarize this catechism into one book and people go, yes. And that doesn't break apart a million times. You know what I mean? Like, why is the Roman Catholic Church so prolific, so big, so agreed upon by so many people? And it just, I think it's a combination of the way the history fell with Constantine playing a big role into it. It was so succinctly summarized and didn't leave anything up for individual thought. I mean, it just doesn't leave that.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people don't want that option.
Well, that's what most people want to be told. This is what you should believe.
So there it was.
Okay? Yeah, this is what you don't need to read. You don't need to study. You don't need to search the scripture. As a matter of fact, you're not even qualified to do that.
Exactly. So with all of that, provided that for you.
Yes. That's
a
great point.
It hadn't been provided.
Yeah, that's
it was
a great
people.
point.
It was dialogue and conversation, and I think this, and I think this, and attempts to back up what you believe. But then there was a moment in time where he said, "We will get together and solve this," and you got no other option. We're gonna solve this, and it may not even be right everything, but we're gonna make it clear,
standardize it,
and boom, and then we'll go from there. Well, that's helpful to get a lot of people on board. I mean, you're done thinking.
That's tremendously helpful.
Yeah.
To attract the masses.
Yeah, when you don't have to think anymore, when it's all standardized, what's the issue? And then you could come up, then you create a system that when questions do inevitably arise about something that we haven't fully thought through and worked out and put down yet, how that will be settled is not another group conversation. We've got a figure that has been through years of training and serving the Lord, who now, through the authority of God, can fix those problems for us. Like when you need something, when some question will inevitably arise, new technology happens. Well, how should we treat this? Or how should this now? It doesn't say how we should treat abortion or gay people in the catechism. So what is it? Okay, we got a pope now. And he's got authority from God, and he can go ahead and tie up these loose ends that arise from the lack of completeness that we have with this standard procedure here. Mm-hmm. So that way you always keep that. See what I mean?
I see what you mean. Only the Pope could have explained it that way.
He did good, too.
It's all made clear. That was good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I guess to sum it all up, what it has become, what I witness of it today, right now, is so heinous that it blows my mind that intelligent people with brains would identify with that as the way.
Yeah. And then you look at the history of when the church split, schism, and then the early Protestant churches and the teachings of the early Protestant leaders. And then, you show them a California church with a gay female pastor who's, doing the craziest crap that they do sometimes. I mean, what was that one video you showed me, that guy that was like that had a stripper at the...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's your Baptist church, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's... Oh, yeah. I mean, it just devolves over time, and then there's...
It does. I think I said this when I was talking to Rob on an interview. It's almost like the true church is under constant process of reformation.
Exactly. Just like an individual
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we almost want, we talked about the sanctification and justification and all that. It's like we apply that process to individuals, but not the collective body of believers. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing. Like, you can't separate the two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know,
That's
man.
actually really where it's taking place in the church as a whole. The only way that that's happening to individuals is because you're a part of that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. It makes total sense.
Like you are being sanctified as an individual, but it's not the way to look at it. It's the church is being sanctified and restored and justified, and you are a part of that. So by default, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes total sense, yeah. Which kind of leads me to another thing I want to add while we're here. I think I've put out some confusing stuff on my opinion of local congregations and the body of Christ and that type of stuff and being a part of a local congregation. Look, let me tell you, man, you must be a part of a body of believers. You have to be. You have to be a part of a body of believers that you do life with, man. And whether that looks like a group meeting at your house or whether that looks like you go into a designated church building somewhere, like if you don't have a life where you are surrounded on, multiple times a week by other believers, you either have to build your life that way or you need to go and get plugged into a local body of believers. That's why local congregations exist. Like, you have to have that, man. Like, to be effective, to be a part of it, to not just, you can't just do it on your own, man, because you are going to hit a dang spot where you're gonna need some folks around you, and you ain't gonna have nobody, and then you're grasping at straws, man, and you're just trying to find somebody. Like, you have got to be part of a body of believers. I just want to clear that up, man.
Yeah.
We'll get the final verdict from the oldest man in the room. Yay or nay on these Catholics? Nay on the Catholic. All right, then. That's the final verdict from the 70-year-old tech guy.
What's he been deemed?
Son.
What's he been deemed?
Perish.
Harris James.
Parish James.
Well, CB, what we got from Patreon this week, man? Now that we've done sorted out all that important stuff.
Patreon. This comes from, hold on a second. This comes from Garrett Fabrication. What's Garrett?
Daniel Garrett.
Yeah.
Daniel, yeah.
Down there about Middle Georgia.
Daniel just started a YouTube channel. What do you call it?
Something.
Thoughts from a welder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a faith-based, it's just his thoughts on, whatever he's been reading on or whatever. He said, he spends a lot of time reflecting on Scripture and praying and stuff when he's welding all day, and I thought it was amazing that he can be talking to the Lord while he's welding. I told him, I said, you was to give me one of them welders, I'd burn the whole darn building down,
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, he started a new YouTube channel, and if he's listening, he can drop it in the comments on the live stream here. But
Daniel says, I'd be interested in hearing a quick origin story of 3 of 7 and how you got it started and what point it became full-time for Chad and Blake and how Chili and Cornbread became team members.
oh, good gosh, Daniel, how can I make that quick?
Just bust it off quick, bub.
Blake, you
hard
got a
for him.
way better memory than me. How'd all this get started?
Well, it really started with you wanting to start a podcast, and I guess you'd been cutting grass for a while, listening to podcasts, and then he wanted to start a podcast.
I liked podcasts. I still like podcasts. That's the majority of what I listen to.
Yeah, and then so we did that, bought the cheapest equipment we could find.
Well, hold on. I started the podcast when I was still in Virginia.
Yeah.
And I would drive over to Tim and Jessica's house because we didn't have internet at my house. So I'd have to drive over there, and Tim would let me use his office to record a podcast on Zoom. That was the earliest episodes. Me by myself with a guest in a friend's house in Virginia.
You've intermittently been by yourself multiple times.
Yeah.
He'll do it again.
I've done a little bit of everything, by the way. I've packed T-shirts. I've shipped
sick
orders. I've done.
You've never taken them to the post office.
Yeah,
That's something you should start.
There's
doing.
a few things you ain't done.
I've done a little bit of
added new
everything along the
tasks.
way, by the way.
But yeah, we
ain't paid taxes.
No. So we started the podcast, and then we got some shirts, and that was kind of the big launch of things, you know.
That was after I met Jesse.
Yep.
Jesse Itzler. Yeah. And did we have the name 307 Project?
Yeah.
Okay.
You remember you went on some solo deal, and you said you was gonna figure out the name on that.
Really?
Yeah, some solo hike.
That's
or
where I
something you
came
did.
up with it at.
Yeah.
Cause
we had loose names.
This
but
29. This was still 20.
This would be 2018.
It'd been
No, it'd be
early-
2019.
early
It had to be
19.
early.
It'd be early
2019.
19.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also the first big podcast I ever was a guest on was with Marcus Luttrell, Team Never Quit. All right. Now Marcus is a really interesting dude. There's something about him. I mean, there's something about Marcus that he's different. Like, not in a bad way. He's different. And I was my buddy, my old chief Brandon had set me up with this podcast with Marcus because I was going to run a race and Brandon was coming out to crew me, and he was like, "You should go tell about why you're doing this race on this podcast." So I went on Marcus's podcast, and we take a break in the middle of the podcast, and Marcus just opens up his Bible and looks at me and starts and reads Ezekiel 37. I told him nothing about 307 Project. It wasn't even a thing. The name wasn't even solidified at that point. And he just reads Ezekiel 37. Doesn't say nothing. And I just say,
Nothing.
Roger that, man. Weird, man. Not weird in a bad way. I'm just saying weird.
Yeah.
And then I met Jesse, went and trained Jesse, and then Jesse was like, "Hey, man, you ought to get some T-shirts, man." I said, "Well, we ain't got, look, man, we might have had, I don't even know if we had any money.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any money."
No, if we did, it was maybe like $1,000 or something.
Jesse, but that's Jesse's style. That's how Jesse does stuff. Jesse has an idea of what he wants to do. Then he goes, puts it on T-shirts and hats, and he makes it a thing.
Yeah.
And so he was just teaching me his style, you know. He said, y'all need to get some T-shirts. I said, "Man, I ain't got no T-shirt money." Well, I trained him up there, you know, didn't charge him nothing. We just became buddies. He said, "Look, I'm gonna hook you up with a graphic designer, and I'm gonna get you a bunch of art. You work with him, get a bunch of artwork done, and I'm gonna print you off." He printed us off like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of T-shirts.
Yeah, that's a lot.
He paid for all of it. He paid for the design. That don't die in the chair design. That's an original design that we did with Jesse's graphic art designer. And Jesse had us all these T-shirts printed and paid for all of it.
Yeah.
And then me and Blake, we decided we were going to start a business out of it. And I think, didn't I put in like 25? We
each put in $1,500.
We each put in $1,500 of our own money, our own savings. So 307 Project was born with a podcast,
A batch of T-shirts.
a batch of T-shirts,
and a website.
and $3,000.
Yeah, we had that. We put that money in and got the website.
Yep, that's what we used it on.
Yep. Yeah. And then the name kind of developed through some of that stuff, through Ezekiel 37, or the meaning behind the name, and then got the logo. And so, yeah, there's not really a grand, like, boom, I seen this, and I just knew I was going to start 307, but it was just slow things that just kept a chain of events, a slow chain of events that happened. And then we started doing the basic course, and you were retired. So you was a full-time uncompensated volunteer for a while, and I worked a construction job for probably I don't know what, 2 years, 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah,
probably
2.5 or 3 years. Yeah.
While we were doing those and then podcast or whatever, I would pack orders. I'd work it. I hated packing those orders, man.
You worked that job for 3 years while 307 was going on?
29. He did it 2019, 2020, and 2021.
Yeah, probably so.
Shoot.
Yeah. 3 years.
Yeah, that's right. But
I didn't make no. We weren't really making no money.
Yeah.
we weren't really making no money. I mean, we had that money that we put in our own money, but Brooke was helping too back then.
Yeah.
She would help with a lot of stuff, just odds and ends, and
Yeah. Yeah, and we ran the basic courses, and then I would do the orders, and Chad was doing the podcast, so I would come home and fill them orders when I got back, and I was always like, oh, man, like, I'm glad folks are, or like, it's cool that they're ordering stuff, but that's the last thing I wanted to do when I got home. And then I would work, most of the time I would take off Friday and then go do the basic, well, I have to because it started Friday, and then I'd go back to work Monday after. And so we did that for a while, and then, I went full-time, and then we kind of restructured some of the stuff legally, and then that's where we had to start paying things out. And then, I guess Chili was our first employee, wasn't
Employee of the month.
he? Yeah.
yeah, that was a big decision hiring Chili too.
Yeah.
I mean, we were.
Oh, I remember that.
We
That
still
gave
did.
you a hemorrhoid.
Yeah, we still didn't have no money back then.
No.
And you think how you gonna hire somebody? We don't know.
You hired Chili, and that's 10x, boy.
we don't know where this is going. And Chili was young back then. He didn't take a lot of money to hire him. I mean, he
16 or something.
coming from Walmart.
Yeah.
But we were able to hire him. But and a lot of people always wonder too. They wonder. You have an idea for a product or a brand or what, how do you get it off the ground? Look, the way that you have to build up your own brand or your own product is, one, you have to be going out doing cool stuff and creating cool stories. You have to be doing something that's worth watching, essentially. So this whole time leading up, Blake's talking about, I'm running these ultra marathons, man. I'm posting about it, I'm going out, doing this all these races and stuff.
Podcasts.
Yeah, but okay, and then so that's the second piece. You got to be doing something that's different, that makes you, on maybe a different level than the average person. And then you have to figure out how to talk about those things and tell those stories in ways that are valuable to others. And then you have to leverage other people who have already built a platform to go and tell those stories on. That's how it all happened. You got to do cool stuff. You got to start writing about it, talking about it on your own channels, but it ain't gonna go far. But then somebody's going to pick it up that has a platform that's bigger than you, and they're gonna say, "Hey, will you come and tell that story on my podcast?" And then you say, "Yeah," and then you go tell the story on their podcast. Yeah. Well, then it just keeps snowballing. So that was one of the biggest snowball moments. Was when Jesse. I remember sitting down with Jesse one day. And, I had told Jesse stories. I had got to coach him and talk. And so he knew, like, by the way, I did all that for free. He knew that the stuff that I had learned and the things that I was doing was valuable and unique. And he said, look, Chad, you got a lot of good stuff to offer. I can take you out to California and hook you up with a few of my buddies to do some interviews. And he said, your life will never be the same. He said, now, before we go do this, I'm telling you, your life is going to change. You need to decide whether you want to go this route or not, because there's really not turning back from it. And I said, yes, okay, let's go. And we went out and did a podcast with Rich Roll. And that's still the number one viewed podcast that I've ever done, was with Rich Roll. And that podcast with Rich Roll was what really blasted it out and allowed us to even run the basic course.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You can't offer a product or a service because without anybody knowing about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so how do people know about it? Well, you got to go and tell about what you got to offer, man. Not only for free, but it costs you money. Like, I cannot tell you how many tens of thousands of dollars I have spent traveling to places to tell my story on my dime. Tens of thousands of dollars. And time away from home. I mean, but nobody wants to do that, man. You know, nobody wants to do that. Look, man, that's how it works.
They want the income. Say, you want me on your show? Well, all right, it's going to cost you. I'm to the point now somebody's asking me, it's going to cost you.
Or I've got this great story, or I've got this great product, and I expect you to pay for it right off the rip. Nobody's going to pay for your crap, man. Like, I don't care how good it is. Nobody's going to pay for it in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to establish some sort of credibility. Some sort of trust. You have to have a way to get the word out. Yeah. People are so confused that people ask me all the time, how do I get into speaking? How do I build a YouTube or an Instagram channel? How do I build a podcast? You can't just go and just start doing it.
Yeah.
You can, but you actually should go and start doing it, but at the same time, you're going to have to hustle both personally and professionally to get the dang word out, man. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's freaking hard. I mean, it really is. I'm not complaining. I wouldn't change nothing about it, man. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, 2019, 2020, 2021, and most of 2022, we freaking hustled, son. I didn't give a crap. Look, the opportunities were the priority, not what I wanted to do. Yeah. What I wanted to do was never the priority, ever. I'm only now to the point where I can begin to think about maybe prioritizing some of the things that I want to do. Right?
Yeah, but even last year, that wasn't the case.
Well, no, last year liked to kill me. Because it was a new level that I hadn't trained for. Right? A lot of people hear me, they hear me say that and they think I'm complaining. It's just a new level that I hadn't trained for. I never experienced that op tempo. I never experienced that amount of traveling and speaking and training and everything that we do, you know. If we have another year like that again, hey, I'm going to do a lot better with it, you know?
Yeah.
So, man, I heard a guy say something at Trades Talk, Proving Grounds, a guy from the Trades Talk. He said, if there was a shortcut, that would be the way.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's genius. It's so true.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, I just had this conversation with a buddy the other day. You know, he wants to get in. He wants to become like an industry leader in his industry, and I'm like, it's 5 years minimum of not getting paid and actually it costing you money to even continue growing. 5 years minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we hired Chili.
Yeah,
I just realized it's been 4 years.
We stole him from 84 Lumber. He was just about to pull the trigger.
sure
From Walmart, you stole
Lumber
me.
salesman.
It's been 4 years almost to the day right now. How about that? I ain't never worked nowhere 4 years of my life.
Give that man a raise.
I ain't never done nothing for 4 years. No, I mean, that is funny to think about. I've never done any one thing for 4 years.
Really?
No. Never. Not actually try
Yeah.
for 4 years. New beginnings.
Yeah. Hitting that PR.
4 years.
Yep.
Chili has always he's Chili's superpower, man, is that he is down for whatever, and he is.
I lost that.
Well, you can only be that way for so long.
Hey, it's true.
But and he is also really good at tolerating my bull crap, which most people can't quite handle. It kind of blows them up. Yeah, man. As we grew, we've hired many different people and this and that. The reason Chili's always stayed around is, one, he works hard. He's extremely dependable. He's extremely loyal, but he'll do whatever you need him to do. And he's always been that way. Hey, Chili, we're going to go over here and do this course. All right, let's do it. We're going to go over here and do this. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, but that's the way you have to operate in a entrepreneurial, like, startup space, man. Like, you just have to be okay with that. And I know it's hard. Well, you have to be okay with that. And you have to think, you also have to think ahead. And that's another thing Chili's always done. This is now advice for people who want to be good team members. You have to think ahead. Like, the whole reason we have a YouTube channel is because of Chili.
Yeah.
He pushed us for years. He was thinking ahead. Hey, we need to start a YouTube channel. I tell him no. We need to start a YouTube. I ain't fooling with that. He'd come back a few months later. We need to start a YouTube channel. That's the whole reason we have a YouTube channel. And because he was thinking ahead, taking initiative, seeing something that he thought we as a team could add that would provide value and also help in some way, shape, or form sustain the business. But that wasn't easy for him. He knew it was a good idea. I thought he was an idiot. You know what I mean? So, and then cornbread. So, y'all have heard the story about cornbread maybe before. Cornbread and I were very close when I was a young teen. And cornbread made a lot of big investments into me as a young teen. All right? He would drive for hours to come and pick me up to take me hunting. All right? He would teach me life lessons along the way as we would go out and do these hunts and, travel together. And we did all this stuff together. And, he's just teaching me about all sorts of stuff, how to drive, how to be safe, how to, treat, like, how to treat other grown men, right? So we got to a point where the orders in the store for our shirts and hats and stuff had grown so much that Chili's entire house was filled with boxes.
It got insane.
and he was just, he didn't say nothing about it for a long time, but finally he started hinting at the fact that, hey man, we've outgrown this, dungeon I have in my house. And so, immediately, Blake and I thought, well, if there would be one person that we would want to hire to bring on the team, it's cornbread. Yeah. Like Blake mentioned it to me first because I didn't think we'd ever be able to hire you. I just thought, you're established in your trade, and you like that trade.
Yeah.
And I didn't think we'd ever be able to hire you. So me and him went back and forth, and finally, I think I called and had a conversation with you.
You did, yeah.
And somehow, by the grace of God, we was able to hire cornbread. He was willing to take the risk and come and join the team. And, the team that we have here, this 4 right here, I don't know how you guys feel about me because I know I'm a squirrely son of a gun, all right? But I don't have to worry about, I would give, y'all everything that I owned and not worry about any of it. We don't have to worry about nothing. Like, it's just complete and total trust. We don't have to worry that you're going to do your job. Y'all might have to worry if I'm going to do my job sometimes. I don't have to worry about nobody. Everybody just does their dang job, man. And everybody's looking out for each other. And we just get to roll on, man. But that happened over the course of 6 years. All right? Don't expect that on day one. Right. You're gonna hire a bunch of people that you're gonna learn real quick ain't gonna work. And it sucks firing people, man.
Yeah.
I used to hate firing people. I'm a lot better at it now.
Now he loves it.
You know, I think another thing valuable for people to know that if they're starting a business or anything is just to stick with it, because it's got to be really hard starting something on your own. Like, maybe even, Daniel's probably excited about this right now, but there'll come a time where he's like, this is really getting to be a lot and doesn't really seem to be growing or taking off. And we had the blessing of having each other, in the beginning to, pick up slack, to help and encourage and keep going.
Well, it's an accountability thing is really what it is. That's the advantage of having the right partner in the beginning, is if I wouldn't have Blake, I wouldn't have kept going. Because there's, it has to be something where, it's not just, I was in a unique position in life, though, because, again, I had my military retirement. I mean, legitimately, I could live just fine off of that. And so I actually remember a day, it was during deer season. I think I was putting out 2 podcasts a month back then. And I remember a day where I said, I ain't doing the podcast no more. I might pick it up after deer season, but I ain't doing the podcast no more. I'm just, And I remember Brooke told me, she said, no. You told the people back then I would post a podcast, about 300 people will listen to it. She said, you told those 300 people that listen to that podcast, you're going to put out a podcast twice a month. Go do the podcast. You got to have people around you, man, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you're just doing it for yourself, you're going to find something that's easier for you to do very quickly somewhere along the way.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to have the right partner, man. You really do. And now we've hired Dad. Look at him back. How'd that? Now we've hired Dad.
He's been asking for a job for 7 years, and we've been doing this thing for 6. We found one for him.
Welcome to the show, Dad. What do you guys have to say about 307 Project, man?
Go ahead, Pope.
Well, I'll say, since you talked,
You've been with us nearly the whole time,
not
Chill.
since you talked about me and Corn, but just something I thought of, is in a strange way, you and Blake happen to be brothers, but maybe that plays into why this is the case, but y'all are literally, y'all are the perfect partners. Really. I mean, I won't call it luck, but it's really, if y'all were different personalities than you are exactly, it just wouldn't work. I don't think it did. I mean, I think back so many things and so many pivotal moments or whatever, and it's there's nobody else in the world that would have dealt with that, crap you did, than Blake did. You know what I'm saying? Dead serious. And just, anything that Blake maybe isn't good at or whatever, you could do, anything you're not good at, he could. I don't know. It's just, that's part of it, man. Yeah. Like you're saying, just the right partners. And
it is, man.
And, I feel like you didn't mention this when you were talking about what all it takes and how hard you have to work. It's also risky.
Yeah.
You talked about the risk that Cornbread took, and even the risk y'all took. I mean, I know what you're saying about, you've mentioned it before. Okay, well, you would be just fine if you lived.
He wouldn't.
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
Yeah,
you
there's a lot of risk involved for, and even in just starting it. And it was just, there's risk. and you had to take risks to get it to this point, you know, and you had to take even financial risks along the way just to grow. That may not be, it's a risk that could just totally end us all, but it's still a risk to make those big investments that you have to make. And
100% it is.
I mean, you just flat out won't continue to grow and improve if you don't do that.
No. And if all you're interested in doing is paying yourself, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah, you're not going to get very far. You're not going to pay yourself very long like that.
And people say, well, how on earth am I supposed to start a business then if I can't pay myself? Well, you may have to work somewhere for
other
a long
means
time.
to pay yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just flat out, man.
Yeah, coming over here is something I don't take lightly at all, you know, and not that the places that I worked before were just so awful, and it has nothing to do with the workload now versus back then. You know, I started out supporting 307 because of the love I had for y'all and your family, and then, you know, y'all gave me the opportunity to be a student on the courses. And
Basic course.
I still hate Blake for that, but you know, doing those courses and knowing y'all and listening to the podcast, and then y'all brought Chili on, becoming a fan of Chili, you know, on the podcast. And I really didn't know Chili at all till the first day I come work here, but doing those courses and stuff, it just, I was like, man, I got to be around some people like this. And in the industry I was like, no matter if I tried to come up with something myself, hey guys, let's work out in the morning, let's have a Bible study or something, man, it would just always fall apart. And that could be in the way I was trying to do it, you know, that could totally be my responsibility. So when you called and made the offer, you know, I talked to my wife and all my sons, they was like, you're not going to do it. You know, I'd been offered all kinds of jobs throughout the years. Like you said, I've been in the industry I was in for a long time. I'm good at that, like real good, and offered big money to move away and to do all this, and was like, no. And they was like, no, you ain't gonna do it. And like, we sat down and had a real conversation, and she said she knew at one point that he's gonna do it. And so when I come over here, it was even more than what I expected. And I was like, holy crap, like I really am supposed to be here. That makes sense? Oh, yeah. So I'm supposed to be here. So if the ship goes down, I'm going down with you. You know, if it goes up, we're going to go as high as it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man. That's a good question. It's fun to get to talk about that stuff, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's been a heck of a long journey. It sure has. It's good, man. Yeah, don't let all anything that we said on here about it taking a long time and it taking, you know, hustle and work and, you know, innovation, and don't let that discourage you, man. That's all fun. You get to look back on that stuff years down the road, you know, and say, man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not work. I think if you're really doing what you're passionate about, it's not. You look back at it and you say, oh, that was a lot of work. But when you're doing it, it ain't a lot. It don't feel like a lot of work.
Well, for me, it's just the daily.
Yeah.
It's just okay, what's next?
Yeah.
You know, I still get to operate that way.
Yeah.
You know, what's the next thing? You know?
Well, y'all the way you talked about hiring Chili and whatnot, and even me and even your dad or anybody in the past, y'all haven't been interested in just having an employee.
No.
You're trying to build a team.
Yeah.
And I know from my work experience and everywhere I worked, they just want an employee, a warm body. Mm-hmm. And it's not, hey, how can I bring this person in and hold him accountable and raise him up the whole time, you know, hold him accountable and keep lifting him up. And is this person, he or she, going to do the same for me and the other people around? So many people just want warm bodies, dude. They're not interested in building a team like that. You say that to somebody in the majority of the heavy equipment field, and they're going to look at you like you got a swastika painted on your face. They're going to be like, well, dude, we just need somebody to push dirt. Mm-hmm. We don't care about what they think or anything. They just need to push the dirt from here and go over there all day long. That's all they need to do. And make sure the tractor don't break down. Yeah.
They don't realize how much fun they're missing out on, man.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say no matter what business we were in, I think I would my foundational understanding of the business and the people would be just like it is now. A team, like I can't. I don't know. I can't comprehend just having a person in a position just to do whatever the task is.
Yeah.
And not having any, relationship with that person outside the boundaries of just the task, you know?
That's
wild.
That's been my experience. How was your experience in construction?
They care about the person to the extent that they can do something for them, but they don't care about don't care nothing about them. It's all about what can you get done.
Right.
Don't you think that partially it comes out of a lack of commitment from the warm bodies that you do hire?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I imagine a lot of businesses and industries, you're cycling through people so fast, and like you get somebody in.
I think that's why you're cycling through people so fast.
Because you don't invest in them from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you should. I think Elon Musk says like he wants to hire people and make them so good that they want to leave. Like they're able to get so many different opportunities. I'm telling you, from my experience, I've seen so many people get hired. I was blessed coming all up through my career to have the opportunities that I had. But people love to keep somebody down and like only let them do a specific job because they're job scared and whatnot. Mm-hmm. That's a very egotistical field, the heavy equipment field and stuff. There's nobody interested in building no team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they are, I'd never run into them.
I think you're exactly right, Corey. I mean, I think that we see that in a certain sense with the services that we offer. It's always really amazed me that we don't have more businesses reach out and want a training experience for their team.
I think Cass is the only one.
Cass is the only one
that's been able to make it happen.
Yeah. So Cass owns a medium size, I would say.
Yeah, pretty good size.
Large to medium size construction company in Alabama, and they reached out to us, and we got to put on a whole weekend-long training experience for them and their team. That's the only one. I'm like,
yeah, but
that's kind of mind-blowing.
But there ain't a lot of Casses out there.
That's right.
I mean, like you can meet him and you just know that. Like that's the thing. Like it's just not that it's a good thing, but it doesn't surprise me that much because there's not that. They don't grow him on trees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's not who's the head of a lot of these businesses. So, I mean, that's why they're gonna be different and stand out.
Yeah, for sure. That's all good stuff, man. Is there anything from the news that I need to hear about today, Chili?
Well, they said I was dead.
You're obviously not.
Yeah, other than that, I just
came back.
Just wanted to dispel that. I mean, on Easter, of all things, they tried to act like I was dead.
Yeah.
I heard J.D. Vance tried to kill you.
Well, he did try to kill me.
Yeah.
He had a device in his hand. He didn't.
You deem that.
Yeah. Go ahead and see if you hear from J.D. Vance again anytime soon. I'll pass it over to Corn with local news.
Isn't that wild that Joker flew out there to meet the Pope right before he died?
Yeah, well.
His family went over yonder to take a little Easter vacation. He was like,
he just happened to be in the neighborhood.
He's like, hey.
Hey, Pope, let me holler at you.
I'd like to see the Pope, Heard you've been sick. I watched a little video and he's like, I know you've been sick for a while. Dang, son. Yeah.
Well, Corn, you said you heard something that the Pope was trying to cast demons off of him as he was dying.
Well, like I said, I don't know if that was real.
Where'd you see that at?
Twitter.
TikTok.
No, it was on that 1440 news or one of those news things that I look at.
heard of
Sound like something Dad watches. Dad, you watch 1440 news?
Yeah.
1440.
Yeah, they said, what's the Pope? What did he speak? Italian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was from Argentina.
They allowed, he was hollering, get these evil things off of me right before he died. But I don't know if that's true.
He may have been talking about the cardinals around him
He might have been.
laying their hands on him.
He might have been.
Anyway, that's national news. What's the DNR say?
Well, in local news,
DNR was patrolling on us this morning, by
they
the
was,
way.
and I waved at that sandlapper, and he didn't even wave back.
He waved at us when we were running.
Did he? He
Yeah.
didn't wave at me.
Probably because you were sucking hind tit.
Well, I was, but I'll even up with him later. So Data USA just released their poverty and diversity outlook, and
Oh, hold on just a minute. This episode's brought to you by our partner at Barbell Apparel. Before we get back to the local news. Wait, what you got? The ultralight tech tee on with the Be Hard logo on it? Outstanding. I did Team PT this morning in my ultra shorts, the 4-inch version.
I
Those
think there's 3 and is there 4-inch?
I think it's a
there's
4
3 and 5.
it's
I
3
thought
and 5.
Oh,
It
I
is
thought it
3
was
and
4
5.
and 5.
Yeah.
The 3
I'm not real
inch,
sure
man,
which ones he
I
had.
like the shorter ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially for running. I like a shorter pair of shorts when I'm running. The ultra short is off the chain, man. It's a great pair of shorts. But Barbell Apparel doesn't just have fitness apparel. They also have jeans that are specifically designed to move with your body. They're super comfortable and unique from any other pair of jeans that you're ever going to wear. I guarantee you that much. They have everyday apparel too, from stuff to wear out on the range to collared shirts to, a whole array of fitness apparel from gym to running to, whatever, CrossFit, if you consider that fitness. Barbell Apparel, they're awesome people. We've been with them for a long time, and we've used their products extensively in a lot of different environments, temperature ranges, different activities, and it always hits the spot. So check them out at barbellapparel.com. That's one way that you can support the show if you guys get anything out of these episodes. And next time you get ready to update your apparel, barbellapparel.com. It helps us. It helps them. And you won't be disappointed. They stand behind their product with a lifetime replacement guarantee. And thank you, Barbell, for making this episode possible. Barbellapparel.com.
Let me restart this local news. So I ride around looking for gobblers.
Yeah.
A lot, and every time I ride around Chattooga County, I'm like, holy smokes, dude! It just gets these
Gobblers everywhere.
gobblers everywhere, and dilapidated houses. Those
It's so poor up there, man. When they had that flood a few years ago, I went up there and worked an aid station where I was handing out water to these people, and it was horrific.
Yeah.
I mean, these people were coming through in vehicles that when they were in line, they couldn't leave their vehicle running because it was overheating. I mean, these vehicles I don't even know how they were legal to be on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd be packed in there. Some of them just flogged out like hogs, dude.
Flogged out like hogs?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I've never seen the person
In
do
their
that.
overheating vehicles, getting a case of water.
It's flogging out.
So Data USA, a data advisement company, come out with their poverty and
What are you
diversity
talking about?
statement, and Chattooga County is 20.1% poverty. 20.1. That's 4,700 people out of 23,000.4 people that live in Chattooga County is in poverty. That is 12.4% higher than the national average.
Dang.
Yeah.
1 out of every 5.
Yep.
That's rough.
That's bad rough.
Yeah, it is.
Bad rough.
It really is, man.
But you're that flood that you're referencing, I mean, that didn't obviously that just was where you were illuminated. You
I didn't
realized it.
Yeah, they started coming out of the woodworks
Yeah.
because if you ride through Chattooga County, if you stay on the main road and go, through the main part of town, you just
Right.
like, yeah, this is like any other little town, right?
Right.
Well, tucked all back in there is it is horrific.
Go ahead and take you a ride to Sloppy Floyd.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you can see
yeah.
it going down the Sloppy Floyd State Park.
Yeah.
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 Some darn roughings on that.
Yeah, it is.
It's a band all through there though, cause like over there in Walker County and all, I think it's about the same way.
Yeah.
That's why taxes are so high in Floyd County.
I mean, I run into them boys coon hunting down there the other night, and they could not even. There was one in the truck that could speak, in what do you call it, where you can understand it, intelligible English. Only one. The truck had 4 or 5 4 people in it, I think. Only one of them could speak English, and he was the one driving. It was wild, man.
It's something else. I mean, it's you right here in Floyd County, and you just go over that ridge, and it's like, what in the world is going? And I'm not making fun of them, man. Like I said, I ride around looking at golfers, and I'm like, man, all these people need roofs.
Yeah.
Like they ain't got now driveway worth $1. They couldn't have a nice car because their driveway would beat the brakes off their dang car.
It's third world, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's some of it in there is third world.
That road is that one road is public, and you about got to have 4-wheel drive to get down it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that road me and you cut down through to go at the McDonald's.
Yeah.
You ride through there, look for some gobblers, son. That is some rough country over in there.
Yeah, it was.
Chili needs to stay out from around there.
Yeah, especially by yourself. Yeah.
I was going to take a drink of this water, but I've been looking at gobblers driving around. I do have one more thing of local news that I can't believe I don't think you've seen it. There's been another CWD case in Georgia.
I did see that yesterday.
You did see it?
I did see it yesterday.
Okay, that's big.
But I didn't research it.
Well, I got a phone call with Uncle Ted coming up. We're going to talk about that.
I hope so. I hope you get him going on something because
I'll talk.
That's a bunch of crap.
Yeah,
Ain't
it's
it?
I'll talk to Uncle Ted
gonna
about
be
that.
so funny.
They're about to vote on adding 30 more days to deer season.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. It'll go plumb through February.
Yeah, they're about to vote on it.
Let's get the final verdict on this CWD from the geriatric man behind the computer. Final verdict on CWD.
Oh, he's down on it.
myth.
Nay.
It's a myth.
Well, that's
official.
That's for Uncle Ted to decide.
Well, we
But-
got it from the oldest, wisest man in the room.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you that it was found within 400 yards of the first case.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
There might be something to that, bub. Might be something to
Just
that,
saying,
bub.
different deer.
Well, I didn't even
That's
get to
it.
tell y'all about my fishing trip. Nothing, man.
Oh, shoot. That is a funny story.
And we got sidetracked on the
I don't
Catholic
even know
Church.
all of it.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't hear that next week.
We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Drop us a comment if you're watching on YouTube. And if you got anything out of the show, maybe this show, most of what you got is a good laugh.
Super chats.
We said we're going to start doing it again.
If most of y'all probably got a good laugh out of this. If you did, share it with somebody, man. We appreciate it. We need you guys' help to grow the show. And if you want to join us for Resurrected on Sunday nights, go check out our Patreon page. We have a good time over there on Resurrected 3 Sundays a month. It's a live call. And it's not amazing because of us, but because of the people who gather on that call every night. And it's really been a huge, huge help for me in growing over the last few years. And, if you like it, check out Patreon. That's another way that you can support the show. And also, hopefully, get some added value.
Thank you, old wise one, for reminding us of this.
Yeah, good job, Yang.
Did you hear him on it?
Hey, he's good, man.
He's getting tuned up. Caleb Judge come in at $10, said, y'all are nuts.
Okay.
Caleb Judge.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing out the obvious, Caleb.
Garrett Fab $4.99. He said,
him.
"A welder's perspective."
A welder's perspective. That's
Thank you,
what
Daniel.
it is.
It's currently only a Facebook page. I will be expanding into other platforms soon. I appreciate the shout out for the page.
Come on, Daniel. Get that thing on YouTube, man.
Marty Bingham, $4.99.
There he is.
This is the perfect time to ask Chili, does the Pope poop in the woods?
When he's getting on them gobblers.
Yeah. Yeah, he does, Marty.
Does he wipe?
With leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not my hand.
He came back in at $4.99. Chad's running around looking like the Bumble from Rudolph with that hairdo.
What?
Well, my hair's finally growing out. It's taking forever, but.
He came back in at $9.99.
Good night, Marty.
It's good that he's already married. He'd be pulling from the shallow end of the dating pool, looking like a cross between the Bumble and Yukon Cornelius.
I agree with that, Marty.
We had Garrick come in at $49.99.
Good night.
Who?
Garrick?
Good.
Oh,
God.
my gracious.
I'm so grateful for 3 of 7 Project. Thank you for the hustle to create what has become not just a company, but an amazing community that has changed so many people's life. I'm personally forever grateful to all of you. Praise the Lord.
Good grief,
Yeah,
Garrett.
that's right, Garrett.
Thank
Praise the Lord for that, man. We're thankful for you too, brother.
Allison Dodd come in at $4.99.
Allison.
She said, "This chat is for my friend Parrish James. I hope he has been given a substantial bonus for coming out of retirement."
Good night, Paris James. You know he's gonna be asking for that money
Well, I was
too.
going to say he did just get a bonus, and
Yeah.
it's that $4.99.
$4.99. If you guys want Paris James's salary to go up, send it in through the super chats.
You think you gonna pay me about $30 more? Robert Lee.
Robert E. Lee. Good night. I've been waiting on that for months.
He came in at $10. Nobody asked me, but extra long time listener here. It really has been a true pleasure to see the brotherhood 3 of 7 has developed under and after our great God. The Lord loves you and favors you.
Thank you,
you,
Robert
Robert.
Lee.
And the last one, Chris Jolly, $20. He said, "It was God's plan for you all to be here doing what you do at 3 of 7. I'm truly grateful and have found you and have had the chance to train with you. I'm on a better path with God now because of you all. See you in September."
Praise the Lord, brother.
Thank you, Chris.
Looking forward to it, man. All right. Love you guys. Enough said.